to know her a little bit. So, first, let's just dive in here. Why are you running, Sarah?
I am running because we need a watchdog over our hard-earned tax dollars and not a lapdog for a one-party rule that's rewarding itself rather than making sure that prosperity is available to every Texan.
All right. Let's first talk about your background a little bit. Let's get to know you. You say you have deep roots in Central Texas. What makes Central Texas a special place for you?
Well, Central Texas is a special place in my heart because my father was born here. I was actually born in Houston. So I've spent a lot of time all over Texas, frankly. But Central Texas is where I've decided to make my home for the last 30 years.
Well, you come from a politically involved family. Your father is Bob Eckhardt, who served over a decade in the U.S. House of Representatives. What was it like to grow up with a dad in Congress, and how did his time in office rub off on you?
So I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and so my father was in politics for the early part of my life, but he left office in 1980. So most of my years with him actually are post his election time. But I did grow up as a child going to a lot of events, and so we joked that I sucked my left thumb so that my right hand would be available for handshakes.
Well, that's actually cool that you got to experience that. Well, eventually you pursued elected office and you began your career in government by serving 2 terms in the Travis County Commissioner's Court. You later became the first woman to be elected Travis County judge. Tell us about your time in these positions. What did you learn from serving in these roles, and what accomplishments are you most proud of from your time in county government?
Sure. So, what we're facing in state politics right now is we really do need to make sure that our money is invested wisely for a prosperity that all of us can build on. And so, my experience as a litigator, also a master's in public affairs, which includes public finance and tax policy. I was also a prosecutor, county commissioner, and as you mentioned, the first female county judge over a major metropolitan county, managing tax rates, tax collection, and more than $1 billion worth of assets, making sure that we were actually delivering for constituents. I cut taxes 3 times while I was Travis County judge, and I'm really proud of that. And also, I was able to bring services and infrastructure to the constituency on time and under budget. So I'm very proud of that.
Well, you've been serving in the Texas Senate since 2020. On your website, you highlighted some bills that you've passed regarding education and children's health care. Tell us about those. What legislation are you most proud of having passed?
So I'm most proud of having been the author of a bill called Academic Fresh Start that made it possible for adults who are returning to college, whether it's a 2-year institution or a 4-year institution, to make an application without a bad transcript hanging around their necks. So previously, a bad transcript would have to be considered if it was less than 10 years old. But now, under Academic Fresh Start, each different university and community college can determine their own length of time, whether it's 2 years, 4 years, or not at all. So people can get back into school if they've had a bad first run of it. And I think that's so important, particularly for workforce in the state of Texas. In order to keep our Texas miracle going, we need to make sure that we have a well-educated workforce that's ready to tackle the kind of jobs that we're seeing in the future.
Well, you also mentioned having worked with your Republican colleagues to pass, as your website puts it, common sense laws to cut red tape and make government work smarter. Talk about your experience working with Republicans in the state legislature, and what would you say is the key to successful bipartisanship?
I think the key to successful bipartisanship is just talking to one another about shared interests. And, one of those shared interests for me has been in tax policy. particularly in property tax policy, which I have more than 22 years of experience with. So when it became apparent that we were looking for ways to cut school property taxes for those who were hit hardest by that burden, a flat dollar homestead exemption began to be discussed, which is something I've advocated for literally years, more than a decade. And so increasing that flat dollar homestead exemption for school property taxes was important to me. I was happy to be an influence on both sides of the aisle for that increased flat dollar homestead exemption under school property tax. I'd also like to see a flat dollar homestead exemption available in our non-school property tax categories. I think that would be really positive for making the burden of our tax policy a little more equitable.
Well, let's delve into your platform. On your campaign website, you say our state's chief financial officer should be a watchdog for your money, not a lapdog for the rich and powerful. Explain what you are referring to.
So very specifically, the comptroller's office has in the past been a very, very powerful office and a positive influence on better investments for our tax dollars. So for instance, in the recent past, we've really not heard much from the comptroller's office about the tremendous amount of our federal income taxes that are sitting in an account up in Washington, D.C., rather than helping us have more affordable health care in the state of Texas. By not expanding Medicaid, we left a lot of our money up there, and it didn't just hurt those who are currently uninsured. It hurts the rest of us too who have insurance. It makes our insurance more expensive. Secondly, our program with regard to vouchers. It's law now, but it's important for us to audit that program and make sure that we report out transparently who's benefiting most, least, and not at all from the voucher program. A recent map released about where voucher schools are available shows that East Texas, for instance, really just has schools in Tyler and in Houston, and that's it. So everywhere else, well, you're out of luck. The voucher program's not going to help you out. And then third, we've also seen in the recent past a tremendous increase in the number of no-bid contracts. That's your public dollars moving into private hands of entities that are politically connected through no-bid contracts, whether it's through the voucher program or through no-bid contracts coming from the governor's office. That's a troubling trend that I, as comptroller, would like to analyze and make sure that the public knows about.
Well, let's move on here to talk about determining the cost of not expanding Medicaid. Do you believe not expanding Medicaid is costing our residents? If so, why? And how would you go about determining the cost?
Well, the comptroller's office really should have put a sharp pencil to what the economic impact is to Texas of not expanding Medicaid. Unfortunately, we've had to look at third-party entities for that calculation. Entities like Texas 2036, which is a nonpartisan entity, and it calculates a 9-to-1 return on investment to Texas if we were to pull down those federal dollars that are formula funds. They're available to us based on our population. So this is not, when we don't pull that money down, it just goes to other states. It doesn't go away. It just goes to other states. So based on Texas 2036, that is a 9-to-1 return on investment that we are leaving behind. Based on other calculations, that's 1 million Texans who are going without insurance because of our failure to expand Medicaid. And recently, yet a third-party entity calculated that more than 14% of Texas children are going without insurance right now. And we are the only state in double digits with regard to uninsured children.
Well, let's bring it on back to talk more about school vouchers. So, I do have a little bit more of my in depth questions to ask you, and I know you answered some parts of it, but I figured, hey, it can't hurt to ask you another time. Let's talk about auditing the school voucher program. Why do you think the voucher program needs to be under audit? On your website, you refer to the program as a scam, as you did say. Tens of thousands have submitted applications to participate in the scheme since applications opened earlier this month. What do you say to parents who support the voucher program and believe their children will benefit from it?
So I think I refer to it as a scheme, but scheme. six of one, half dozen of another. And the numbers of families who have applied for the voucher program still represents considerably less than 1% of the school age population in the state of Texas. So still, it's a program that it's only going to be able to help a very, very small percentage of the school aged population. With regard to auditing it, it is under statute, under the law that was passed creating the voucher program, the comptroller's office is supposed to report out every single August who benefits most, least, and not at all from this program, utilizing the $50 million Odyssey contract to do that audit. The comptroller needs to make sure that that audit is a squeaky clean one and that it's honest with regard to who's benefiting most, least, and not at all.
Let's talk more about no bid contracts. You mentioned it just briefly here, but let's talk about stopping no bid contracts to wealthy donors. How are no bid contracts having a negative impact, and what's your plan to stop them?
Well, as a chief executive over a large urbanized county and having worked for a local government for more than 22 years, no bid contracts are something that should be avoided at every turn. We need competition. That's the very fundamentals of a free market system, is a competitive approach. So a no bid contract should only be available in times of genuine emergency. But we've seen a troubling trend of increasing uses of no bid contracts, and that troubling trend was not identified by the comptroller's office. It was actually identified yet again by a third-party entity looking at comptroller documents, sifting through hundreds and hundreds of pages of comptroller documents in order to identify a trend that the comptroller probably already knew. That trend indicated nearly $1 billion in no-bid contracts going through the governor's office. That is a concerning number of no-bid contracts. All of those came under the COVID-19 emergency declaration or came under future emergency declarations. So they were under emergency declarations, but it is the comptroller's job to make sure that the contract is legitimately tied to that emergency and not past that emergency. And we've seen that a number of those contracts have outlived their emergency.
Is there anything else that we missed here in this interview, Ms. Eckhardt? Because I feel like we've covered so many topics in a small amount of time that we're like, man, we already ran through this and I had a whole list. Is there anything else that we need to know about your campaign and anything else that we just missed in general?
Sure. I would like to say that this is really just about transparency and competence. This is not about breaking anybody's chops. The comptroller's office really needs to be an honest broker about what's happening with your money. You want to know what's happening with your money, and the Texas legislature should know what's happening with your money too. So whether it is Republican or Democrat, one-party rule has a tendency to breed corruption. It resists accountability, and it also has a tendency to suppress rights. So by having a comptroller that is an honest broker, you bust that up a little bit, and so people start minding their P's and Q's, as it were. You don't want a state government to be too politicized in its delivery of service, so that we make sure that everybody has a level playing field.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and giving us just a little bit of background, not only just about you and your campaign, but what you or why you are running, excuse me. This was Sarah Eckhardt, who's running for the Democratic nomination for Comptroller of Public Accounts. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody.